Welcome, welcome to Just Minding My Business Media. We hope you have had an amazing and uplifting day. As we get ready to introduce our guest, I suggest that you grab a pen and paper just in case you hear something that you can use in your day-to-day life. Today, we are pleased to have with us Jill Pikoski, author of The ABCs of Conscious Parenting, bringing ease and joy into your relationship with your child, and the creator and facilitator of Conscious Parenting Workshops, which give parents tools for improved communication and behavior. She and her husband Larry have been married for almost 29 years, and together they have consciously and successfully raised two daughters, now 27 and 24.
Wow.
Jill says that she is a self-acknowledged recovering people pleaser. She has gone from doormat to steamroller. I can't wait to hear about that. And is now grateful to find the balance between the two. And I love that she says about herself that she never claims to be perfect with her communication, but her relationships are thriving, and many people ask her advice on how to say what they mean what they say, but not say it mean. Welcome, 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 Jill. So
Yeah,
wonderful to have you with us.
Thank you.
absolutely.
I am so thrilled to be with you ladies and to have this opportunity to share who I am and what I've written and what I do with your audience.
Yes, we're happy to have you as well, for sure. And Ruth knows how I am. How did you get started with this? Where is your beginning?
Where is my begin? Oh my gosh. My beginning is 64 years ago, born in Washington, D.C., the third child of four, the youngest of whom died as an infant. I could tell you all kind of stuff about that. I can tell you that I was raised by a mother who told us young ladies do not get angry. And I was raised by a father who was very proud of the fact that he could control us with a look. So consequently, I grew up not allowing any negative feelings. Negative feelings were not permitted in our home. And knowing that it's not proper for me to get angry, so that all got stuffed, and we all know what happens to anger when it gets stuffed. And constantly basing my behavior on the looks on my father's face, my mother's face, my siblings' face, and consequently all the faces that I've come across in my years. So it's a long story of how I got to where I am today, but the shortest version is this is not my first marriage. It is my successful marriage. As you read, we've been married almost 29 years. September will be 29 years. And the first two were basically first two marriages. Spent being young and crazy and not rocking the boat no matter what I do. And then, it didn't work. And I did a lot of studying, therapy, other self-help programs, and met my husband. And when I met him, I was 35 and 34. We were married when I was 35, and we had our first daughter at 36. And what I knew about parenting was that I didn't want to do it the way I'd been parented, but I didn't know what that meant. How do you know a different way? And I did a lot of research. There were a lot of parenting TV shows on when my kids were young, and I watched them and listened to them and talked to a lot of other parents who were further down the road than I was. And, a lot of times it was just trial and error. As far as the recovering people pleaser and turning into a steamroller, really with that is figuring out how to find my voice and learn how to speak my truth within our marriage. And, it had its challenges. And once I finally figured out that if I rock the boat, he's not going anywhere, I think I kind of took it to the further degree. And that wasn't working so good either. So, you know, I spent a lot of years trying to find the balance there. And what I find is that statement, say what you mean what you say, and don't say it mean, can go a long way in every relationship. And it certainly goes a long way in your relationship with your children. Does that answer that question?
Yes, it does. And I can relate with you wholeheartedly because I've been married now almost 25 years. And this is my second marriage. And the first marriage, I think I got married to married.
Yeah.
Because I really didn't know what to do. You know, I thought you're supposed to be this kind of way, and it don't matter what kind of way you are. If they ain't there, they ain't there.
Amen.
Yeah. So, Ruth, you have the
Okay. Well, we do have some questions for you, some other questions. And I wanted to know exactly what is conscious parenting?
Well, I love that question because I think every parent believes that they are a conscious parent. But what I did in the book was I looked up some definitions of conscious, and there were some very interesting things that I discovered. And I'm going to just read a couple things to you. So personally felt, as in conscious guilt, perceiving, apprehending, or noticing with a degree of controlled thought or observation. And the example is conscious of having succeeded. Done or acting with critical awareness, a conscious effort to do better, being concerned or interested, and marked by strong feelings or emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love about those definitions is that when you take them out of the wordy sense and put them in the emotional sense, it's basically being aware that what we say and what we do impacts our children, often for life.
mm-hmm.
And there's no question that we love our children. We all love our children. And the way love is expressed oftentimes doesn't get received in the child as love, confidence, encouragement, that kind of stuff. You know, we've heard so many times of parents who were beating their kids saying, you know, this hurts me more than it hurts you. And if I didn't love you, I wouldn't do this, and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. This is not going to be a discussion of judgment on how people parent. It's only that I wanted to do it a different way.
Okay.
And I realized that it made it, I saw a difference in how my kids behaved based on how I spoke to them. That was the beginning.
That's really very, very interesting. That's, like you said, it's not a judgment on parenting, way people parent their children, but I've never had children myself, but I can remember the difference between the way my grandmother spoke to me and the way my mother spoke to me. And actually, my grandmother got more out of me than sometimes my mother did, you know, and it was the way that she talked to me. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't all upset. She would just talk to me calmly. And it was funny because sometimes when I had done something wrong, rather than scold and go through all that, she would talk to me calmly. And sometimes it would be like, please just spank me and get it over with. But I remember that difference.
Feel those feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because parenting, we do see it everywhere. People, you know, you can be anywhere and you can see, let's take the mall, the grocery store, and you can observe how people parent. And there's so many different parenting styles. So I guess that's my next question. what are some of are there dominant parenting styles that cover a gamut of behaviors with children?
Well, that's a kind of a multifold question.
It is.
So we all have heard of the helicopter parent, the parent that hovers and oversees every single thing that the kid does. We all know about neglectful parents who are not present in their kids' lives. And what I describe it as in my book is the difference between conscious parenting and unconscious parenting is, in unconscious parenting, we are dealing with the knee-jerk reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Your child does something that just gets you and you react. And there's another great quote that I found that starts off the book, and I'll read this to you because it's just so powerful. It was so powerful. This is from a man named Chaim Ginott, whom I had never heard of before I wrote my book until I started doing research, and I found this guy all over the place and everything. So each chapter starts with a quote of his.
Oh.
Because everything that he said spoke to me. And here's what he says. When a child hits a child, it's called aggression. When a child hits an adult, we call it hostility. When an adult hits an adult, we call it assault. When an adult hits a child, we call it discipline.
Wow.
So what that says to me,
Mm.
what that says to me is we can do damage in the name of love without even knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
That the idea that it's okay for my child, it's okay for me to hit my child, but that behavior is not permitted in any other facet of our society. There's something wrong with that picture. And so then it's not even physical abuse or physical discipline. The knee-jerk reaction is going to have a verbal content to it where my child says something, I get triggered and I yell at that child and I tell them to go to their room and whatever. And there are books that I read and things that I researched and learned about while my children were very young that showed me there were different ways of handling those situations. So here's the thing. The number one thing a parent needs to do to be a conscious parent is to deal with their own stuff.
Mm. Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's huge.
Because that's what happens, is that we know if something happens and we know intellectually that it's not that big a deal, but we have a severe emotional reaction to it, we know it's something deeper than what's going on right now. And that's what happens to us as parents. There's something that happens, either it happened to me as a kid or whatever it is. And I'm reacting from a place of woundedness instead of a place of consciousness. It's not going to progress well. When I learn and deal with my own stuff and get my childhood wounds handled, and it is my belief, and this is just my belief, that everyone has wounds from childhood. Some to a greater degree, some to a lesser degree. But I believe that we all have wounds because people are human. They do stuff. It causes wounds. It just does. So learning to deal with my stuff enabled me to, when triggered, often, certainly not always, slow down, stop, think about what I want to say. I learned great parenting tricks, little tricks like saying, oh, tell me more about that. Johnny comes into the room and he says, I hate grandma. What are we going to say? Of course you don't hate grandma. Don't be ridiculous. You don't hate your grandmother. I don't ever want to hear you say that again, right? But what if we said, ooh, tell me more about that? you sound really mad. And he says, yeah, Grandma came in and said that I can't have a cookie before dinner. I hate Grandma. Oh, so Grandma didn't let you, and you get more info. By the time you get to the bottom of why they're saying they hate Grandma, it's having a cookie before dinner. And so when we allow kids to have their emotions, let it be safe for them to have their emotions, then we can get to the bottom of whatever it is and go, oh, so this isn't about I hate Grandma. This is about I can't have a cookie.
Wow.
Yes. And then that makes a huge difference. That makes a huge difference. And
not only are we getting to the bottom of the issue, the child is feeling heard. The child is not feeling shut down. Your feelings don't matter. What you say doesn't matter, doesn't count. You're hurt, you're angry, you're upset. Sorry, that doesn't count. You just can't talk that way about Grandma. So when we give them the opportunity to express their feelings, and don't buy into them, things get diffused before they turn into this big, hairy deal.
I like that. As, just like you, my parents were, old school, and the spankings was in when I came up. And when I had my son, I wanted to be different. I wanted not to parent that way.
Right.
So it was a struggle sometimes because, like you say, your past comes up. Your junk comes up sometimes,
And how are we going to know another way to parent than the way we were parented?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's just that will to want to be different than what you were given, to be a different parent.
That's what being conscious is.
Okay. Yeah. So what if you were going to give like some steps for becoming a conscious parent, what would be like the ABCs of it?
Well, I'll tell you that the reason the book is the ABCs is because it became a real easy, because I just kind of wrote. I didn't do the things you're supposed to do as a writer because I never considered myself a writer. But I'm going to just backtrack a hair to that question, Ruth. So hang on to it because I may forget what it was. I started with workshops. People were asking me when my daughters were teenagers, why are your daughters the way they are? They're well-adjusted, they're reasonably confident, they're articulate, they do the things they're kind of supposed to do, they're a pleasure to be around, they're not afraid to talk to adults. And I started really thinking about that my husband and I were very conscious and on purpose about how we parented them. And I had this aha at a retreat that I wanted to do parenting workshops, conscious parenting workshops. And then somehow I wrote the workshops. And I did the workshops a few different times. And they were a lot of fun. But I'm not a marketer, so that piece of it didn't go so well with me. But as I was doing the workshops, people were saying, well, do you have any printouts? Do you have anything that you've written? Do you have anything? And it was being suggested to me over and over again that I should have something written to either sell to my clients or give to my clients who come to the workshop. So there was a whole long process about the writing of the book. I won't get into that now, but I wrote it in a kind of stream of consciousness way and didn't do an outline and didn't do the things you're supposed to do. So then I had this like mass of words and I didn't know how to organize them. And it was suggested to me that I organize them in the ABCs, and I go through my manuscript with different color sticky notes. Okay, this is the A's, this is the B's, this is the C's. And it worked out so perfectly because the A's, chapter 1 is attitude is everything. Chapter 2 is the 3 A's, which is something I get into in the book. And chapter 3 is autonomy, encouraging it in your child. Okay? Part 2 is the B's, behavior, ours. Chapter 2, behavior, theirs. Chapter 3, behavior, stopping it. And then in part 3, the C's, chapter 1 is communication. Chapter 2 is cooperation. Chapter 3 is correction and praise. So it kind of really worked out.
Wow.
To make it the ABCs, because the things just fit into those categories so beautifully. So, okay, number 1, do your own work. Believe that you have work to do on yourself and do it. Number 2, recognize that reacting and reacting and reacting is not getting you the results that you want, or even just recognizing that whatever it is you're doing is not getting you the results you want, and seek outside help. Now, that doesn't mean you have to go to a psychiatrist. There are so many books out there, parenting books, and there were 2 that I read that completely changed the life of our family. One was called How to Talk So Kids Will Listen, and Listen So Kids Will Talk. I think the title is beyond amazing. And the book was fantastic. And the other one was called 1, 2, 3 Magic. 1, 2, 3 Magic, which was a stop behavior technique. And both of those things, both of those books enabled us to communicate with our children in a whole new way. I had girls, so girls like to whine. And they would come with their whiny voices, and it would begin to sound like fingernails on a chalkboard. With the 1, 2, 3 magic technique, and I'm not going to get into any of those with you here, but with that technique, I was able to nip those behaviors like right in the bud. It was miraculous. So those 2 books are quoted in my book a whole lot.
Okay.
Because so many of the tricks of the trade that I learned were from those books.
Is there a particular tool that you really love? I mean, you just mentioned one, but in your book, is there a particular tool that you would offer to our listening audience as a starting point? Because I'm telling you, there are parents out here, their ears are wide open and they're saying, oh my goodness, there's actually something that can help me.
Yeah.
Because like you said, we parent the way that we were parented, and many parents would prefer not to parent the way that they were parented. So is there a particular tool that you love that was the big good starting place?
Right. So the first chapter being attitude, ours, it to me is the beginning. And the simplest tool I think that we can use is that when we feel that reaction rising, to stop, pause, think. And my favorite thing to think is, what would love do? What would love do here? Right? What would love do here? And at the very least, love would stop and listen. And so that phrase of, oh, tell me more about, you sound really mad. Tell me more. That phrase all by itself can change lives. And my other favorite tool, and this is only one tool in an arsenal, but it was my favorite, and it worked so beautifully with my kids when they were mad, when they were angry, and hitting your sister is not gonna work. That's not allowed. Inviting them to go color a picture of how angry they are. And I mean, really, so it's like, oh my goodness, are you mad? I want you to go and get your crayons and color me a picture and show me how mad you are. Boom, they'd run upstairs, grab their crayons, the door would slam, and they would be in there. And then they'd come running down the stairs, look, mommy. And the other piece of that is to say what you see. Oh my gosh, I see red scribbles and black lines and orange X's, and boy, are you still mad? Yeah, go draw me another one. And
That's phenomenal.
the anger's gone.
Right. And
That's one of those books. I have no idea which one, but that technique, and it's so good when they can't write, they're not old enough to write, and they have a really hard time getting their words, you know, and because they can draw anything and it doesn't have to look like anything. And one further thing on that tool of when they draw stuff and they come in and they really want to show you their picture. Look, mommy, look what I drew. Look what I drew. You know, this is not even when they're angry and you've sent them off. This is my other favorite tool. Is so I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I have a home-based business, and I am in the middle of a deadline, and I'm on my computer, and my child is in there drawing, and I'm focused on what I'm typing, and here comes my kid, and she's saying, "Mommy, look at my drawing, look," and I want to go, "Get out of my face! Can't you see that I'm busy, right?" But if we can stop and just pause for a second, get right down on their level, eye to eye, and say, "Sweetie, I really want to see what your picture is, but right now I'm in the middle of something. So if you'll go set the timer for 10 minutes or whatever your time frame needs to be, let them set the timer instead of saying, come back and get me in 10 minutes, because then they're going to be here every 30 seconds going, is it 10 minutes? Is it 10 minutes? Have a timer that they can set themselves. Go set the timer for 10 minutes, and when you come back, I will give you my complete undivided attention. And
I like that.
Works but then you have to be willing to follow up and give them your undivided attention at the end of 10 minutes, no matter what you're doing, because we can't expect them to be people of their word if we're not going to be people of our word.
Absolutely. And I love those techniques because I had some similar ones. Like if I was doing bills or whatever, and my son wanted to play, I would put him on my lap and let him lick the stamps and put them on the envelope. So he felt as though he was helping.
Yes.
And it engaged us, you know, even though I was busy, I prepared something for him to do in my busyness.
That's conscious parenting. You thought ahead. You thought about your kid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, we live in a world where you have families with two parents that both work full-time jobs, and you have kids and they're demanding and there's responsibilities and you're going. It's really hard.
It is.
It's really hard. And this can make it harder until you try some of these techniques and you realize that you're getting more cooperation. I don't know how much time we have left, but I have another fave.
Okay, well, I want to show us your book and tell people how they can get your book, because I'm loving all of what you're talking about. All of it.
First of all, I want you to see this is not a big fat book.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's on purpose, because there are plenty of big fat books out there for you to buy and read. But this, I call this book on the back a toolbox in a book. And that's because if you're having a behavior issue, you can go in here and look under the B's and pick out the behavior chapter and get a tool. You can look under communication and you can get a tool. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to make it simple for people to utilize. And then if they want to go and buy the other books, the How to Talk So Kids Will Listen and the other books, absolutely recommended. The book is available on Amazon. Again, it's called The ABCs of Conscious Parenting. It's bringing ease and joy into your relationship with your child. And it's written by me, Jill Mann-Pakofsky. And you can get it in either the digital version, which is less expensive, or the print version on Amazon. Or, and I don't know how we can give this information to your viewers, if you email me, this is how. If you email me at consciousparenting, that's all one word, consciousparenting @comcast.net, and you tell me you want your book. The book is, I think it's $9.95 on Amazon. So for $10, if you will pay me through PayPal, I will send you in the mail a signed copy of the book. So I'll absorb the mailing cost so you can have a signed copy of the book. It's a great holiday gift. Gosh, last year, all of my friends, they were instructed. That's what they had to buy for me. But so many people bought it for their, like, you know, my friends are talking about grandchildren. So they're buying it for their kids. And I will just share this. I have one dear friend who is 25 with a 5-year-old. No, let's see. She's probably 27 with a 5-year-old. Anyway, she told me a few months ago that there was one technique, I can't remember which one it was, that was saving her life. And I was like, I don't care. I almost don't care if anybody else reads the book. To know that one parent and one child had a life-changing experience is just the best.
Yes, yeah. So tell us about the cover.
Okay, so these are my friends, Rebecca and Rachel. Rebecca's the mom and Rachel is the daughter. They go to our church, it's a spiritual center called the Columbia Center for Spiritual Living. It's actually now called Oneness Center for Spiritual Living. I've known them since Rachel was probably, I don't know, 5. So maybe in this picture, she's 10. And I don't know them that well, but I was trying to decide on the cover and I didn't know what to do with the cover. I knew I wanted fall colors. My oldest daughter was born in the fall and I love the fall colors. And I knew I wanted something that expressed joy. You know, that was what I wanted to express. And just one night, I had a dream, and here's Rachel and Rebecca with their hands up. They're facing each other, so they're engaged, but they're looking up to sort of like say, okay, universe, bring it on. And they're and they're in it together. They're like, and that was the whole, and I asked them if they would be willing, and we just went outside our center one Sunday after service, and I took a whole bunch of pictures, and this just was done off of my phone.
Wow.
Wonderful.
The other beauty of this is that my oldest daughter, Leah, is much a wordsmith, and she was my editor. And my younger daughter, Jenna, who was multi-talented, designed the cover.
Wow.
So I had a fellow help me self-publish, and he sent me some cover ideas, and I sent one to her, and I said, I think this one's okay. And she says to me, Mom, this is your book. Are you going to settle for okay?
Oh,
Let me play with it, see what I can do. And she achieved exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
very warm,
keep on
inviting.
Now, the workshops, where do you normally do your workshops?
So I really haven't continued doing the workshops. There are many reasons. Part of the reason is that I'm 64 and so is my husband, and he's retired, and we are really having fun.
I know that's right.
I am blessed to not have the need to build a business. And so I realized that the book was my way of getting the message out. I've done some private, I can't call it counseling. I guess I'd have to call it parent coaching because I'm not a certified anything, but I have experience. And I love to share my experience. So I'm really not doing the workshops now. If some of your listeners who are local contacted me and said, I got 5 parents that really want to do a workshop, I'm there. Okay. We'll work it out.
Excellent.
Yeah. Yes. That's I'm sort of letting the universe bring it to me these days. So
okay.
Which is how this whole thing happened.
And that's how it all happens, actually.
When you really open yourself up, it's like, okay, the universe says, I have an assignment for you.
Yeah.
And this is what it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just love everything that you talked about.
Thank
a
you.
lot of it I could relate to because my son, like if he did something wrong, I would have him to write me an essay when he got a little bit older on why what he did was wrong and what could have happened and blah, 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 blah. Of course, he hated it at first, but what it ended up doing for him, he's an excellent speller. He's won several spelling bees.
Isn't that fabulous?
In terms of the spelling bees, he's done, like regional. I mean, and he doesn't even think about it. He just spells. He's
Amazing.
an excellent spelling. So I'm thinking because of the writing, that helped him to learn more words and things like that, and really understand words. So that was one of my things when he didn't get it right. And then it had came to a point where every time he would come home from the school bus, he didn't have a hat. I was like, well, didn't you feel a breeze around your head? So what I started doing with him, I started charging him $1 every time he lost his hat. So that was $1 from his allowance.
Uh-huh.
So you keep on losing hats, you ain't got the money.
Here's my other message to parents today. Children need limits.
Yes.
Children need limits and consequences. They don't want them.
Right.
They'll buck against them. They will fight them tooth, but they need limits. And one of the difficulties that's going on in the world today, and ask any school teacher, they'll tell you, my husband's a retired school teacher of 30 years, that the children are not expected to be accountable at home often. And so therefore they don't feel that they need to be accountable at school.
Yes.
And so I encourage all parents out there, don't be afraid to set limits with your kids. They need them. They need them. They need them.
And actually, they want them. They really want those limits.
Not consciously, not if you ask them.
Right. No, they're going to deny it for everything, but really for that feeling of safety.
Although I will tell you, there was one time when our oldest daughter was out playing on our cul-de-sac, and my husband went out to get her to come in, and other kids were being allowed to stay out. And he said, Leah, I'm sorry. I'm the old stick in the mud that always has to bring you in. And she said, don't be sorry, Dad. I know that you do this for me because you care. She knew it at whatever age that was, 12 years old.
Isn't that something?
So maybe you are right, Ruth. Maybe they do want it at some level. They certainly need it.
Oh, yeah. And I think boys, like I had a boy, so it's a little bit different than girls. They are, they just kick it light, it's like whatever kind of situation for them. And it had gotten to the point where my son, because he went to, we homeschooled him, and he started school at 8 years old. And the school that he went to, it was only 6 other kids in the class. Because I didn't want to traumatize him with public school and 30 kids coming off of homeschooling.
Right.
So it got to a place where he wouldn't turn the homework in. He would do the homework, and it would be sitting in his bag. And I'm like, well, what were you doing when the other 6 kids in your class was putting their homework in? So then it got to a place where every day we had to check the book bag to make sure, because he would do the homework, but he just wasn't turning it in.
I can't tell you how many parents of boys I've heard that same story of.
Really?
It was crazy. It was crazy. So then we had to check the book bag. And then my husband was like, well, he said he did it. Really? Did you check? Because I'm a verifying parent. You just can't tell me something and I'm going to verify. Like he'll say, I brush my teeth. I go check the toothbrush. The toothbrush is dry. So I'm like, okay, I thought you said you brushed your teeth. Your toothbrush is dry. So how did you do it? Tell me about that. So I did some of the similar type things with him because you know how kids are. If they can get away with it, they're going to try. So I'm one of them Prove it, moms. Let me see.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am so honored to have you on this show and talk about some of the techniques that you're doing, because I mean, I'm loving it, because parenting is hard.
Yep.
Mhm.
It is. There was one of the TV guys that I used to watch when my kids were little. They used to say, parenting is the hardest job you'll ever love.
Mm.
And that's the truth. That's well said. It is the
Yeah.
truth. And because I mean, I love my son. He grew. He's 22 now, going on 23,
Mhm.
and he's a very honorable young man. Whatever woman gets him is going to have a gym. I taught him how to clean. I taught him how to cook. All the skills that he's going to need in order
Mhm.
to take care of himself. And I'm really proud of him. He's finished college and he's pursuing things. So I couldn't be a happier mom.
Awesome. It's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, there is that one little area where I feel like I kind of fell short with my kids. And that is, I didn't make them do that much in the way of chores when they were here. And my younger daughter doesn't seem to be struggling with it too much, but my older daughter is like, Mom, you should have made me clean the bathroom. Sorry, kid.
Wow.
Lay on the floor with you instead. You got to take what you get.
Oh my. Jill, it's just been so awesome talking with you. It's been
Thank you.
absolutely awesome.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you want to throw out for our listening audience? Any other little tidbit that you might have of wisdom and knowledge and experience?
Well, I will say this, that I've also learned that I can use that stop, pause, and ask what would love do in any situation, in any relationship. And it has never failed me. I used to think that if I don't speak now, then I'm stuffing. And then I figured out that there are times when it's really appropriate for me to keep my mouth shut. And as a parent, and in any relationship, but as a parent, it's hard to keep your mouth shut.
Yes.
And I've learned that some of my biggest victories are keeping my mouth shut. And then I can always take a situation to someone else and run it by them and say, here's what happened. What do you think? And then figure out if I need to go back to the person that I had the original issue with and bring it back up again. That's another thing about parenting, is it is so open-ended. It's never too late. It's never too late. Your kids are teenagers. It's never too late to start this.
Mm-hmm.
It's never too late to go, you know what I was thinking about last week when you came home from school and you were in a bad mood and I was in a bad mood and I was not very nice to you. I was thinking about that. I just want to let you know, I really could have listened to you a little bit more. It's never too late to go back and do that.
Mm-hmm.
That is a wealth of wisdom.
Yes, and like you just said, I think it's not just for children.
Oh,
It's
no.
for every relationship, because I mean, how long you been married? 29? Did you say?
Almost 29 years, yep.
And I've been married 25, and I had to learn that just in the marriage
Yep.
before the kids came along.
Yep.
Because I had to know when to shut up and know when to speak my truth.
It's taken me a lot of years to figure that out.
Yes, it's tough.
Yeah, sometimes.
It's tough, because every time you go to the bathroom and the toilet seat is up, and you go in the middle of the night and you falling in the toilet because the toilet seat is up,
Yes.
you feel like screaming,
I've been feeling like maybe the next book needs to be the ABCs of conscious communication. So we'll see.
That sounds good, Jill.
Yes.
I like that.
I like it
that a
too,
lot.
because I think we can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
Because it's working from the inside out, and we constantly have to do that.
Yep.
Mhm.
because we can go to the left with the quickness.
That's right. Yeah. And conscious communication, most of us think before we speak and regret it afterwards, you know,
Yeah.
and don't even realize how our words weigh in for other
Right.
people.
Right.
So I
Yes.
like that title.
I do
We'll
too.
be looking for it.
Yes.
Okay.
We're going to hold you to that.
All right. Oh gosh. Here we go.
Absolutely. Well, we thank you so much. Oh, I'm just
Well,
going to blow
thank
you.
you all so much, Ruth. Thank you for finding my card and calling me. And it was so cute because Ruth and I know each other from many, many years ago. And I still had her number in my phone and it came up. I'm going, what? It was very funny.
It was. And it was like when she told me, I was like, oh, Jill, I know who you are.
Right. So
It was
meant to-
lovely. It was
And now that
lovely.
I know about you guys, I can't wait to go on and listen to some of your other archived broadcasts. That's exciting.
Yes, yes, absolutely. We encourage that you do. And like I said before, this will probably go on our TV side of things as well as the radio because you brought it today.
Well,
Yes, you
thank
did.
you. And please make sure I know about how to access that too.
Oh, of course.
Absolutely.
We're going to make sure you have front row seat.
Thank,
Mhm. Thank you,
yeah,
Jill.
this was really fun. Thank you
Good.
so much.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right, ladies, well, have a great night.